Let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. There it is. There's your tablet.
Well, how about it? I got a lot to. I got.
Oh, go. Jeez.
We got a lot to talk about.
Sheesh.
We
Where would you like to start? Where would you like to start?
The Cavs.
That's not fun.
No, but we have the Cavs.
Yep.
We've got stadium renderings.
It's a little old. Isn't that an old one?
That was like, thank you
Cavs.
for doing our work for us.
Stadium. Yep.
Yeah. And then we have long bone short ribs in the cafe today.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. If you look in there, if you even take a look, if you take a gander, they might see the bone.
Oh yeah, there it is. There's the bone right there. Was there what ended up happening with the remnants of the pig?
Got every bit of that pig, every bit of edible pigness was eaten,
consumed.
Yes,
that's a good use.
Yeah, it gave that's a great. What an honor!
It's a true honor
and an honor to that pig.
I
was told though today that it was met with. There was la resistance to the pig, and then it was
I think it's probably just not what you thought you'd see.
I think that's what it is. Because then he asked one of the people who was very upset with the pig and was like, "You eat bacon every morning."
Right.
So I think it's just it's smiling at me.
It. Yeah, it's the look of it. Yeah, that can be a little troubling, I suppose, for some. But I think if you knew it was there, you'd be fine. It's probably a shock for some.
I think we should have been playing songs from the film Forgetting Sarah Marshall, handing out lays, and then who would have had a problem with it there being there?
Nobody.
Right?
Nobody would have at that point. Yeah. Absolutely nobody. If you could start any television show that you've ever watched from the beginning, and it was Men in Black erased from your mind, what would you choose?
I mean, there's two that immediately come to my mind, but they're so different that like you almost have to be more genre specific, but Game of Thrones and Curb.
So you would put yourself through Game of Thrones again?
Put myself
for that
through.
For the end of it.
What a delight. The journey, dude.
The journey was good, but the end was so brutal.
Hold on.
No, it was bad.
How do you unsatisfying some of the decisions that were made in the end are very unsatisfying. But even in that final season, which was 6 episodes, you had 3 of the most stunning episodes of TV you'll ever see.
Yeah, but the last 3 were as bad as anything you'll ever see.
It wasn't 3, because I think it was
sense.
1 was good. Maybe it was 1, 2 were good, and then not good, and then 5 was good, and then 6 not good.
I think that since it stopped,
yeah,
the fact that it is no longer even mentioned, that it is not anything anybody seek out in pop culture, that it is basically evaporated, tells you.
I don't know if that's true.
I think it kind of is. I think it is. I haven't heard anybody say, I'm going to rewatch Game of Thrones. I haven't heard any since that.
I know multiple people who are doing it as we speak.
You're the one then, I guess. I don't know. I don't think
I'm not doing it.
I don't think it has, or you're the one who knows people who are doing
Yeah.
it. I think they botched the end of that. I agree with you. It's the most enjoyable up until that point, but it's the most botched ending of anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, but dude, you're talking about at
it didn't
worst
matter
case
who Jon
scenario
Snow was. It didn't matter.
60 hours of greatness.
So I went Sopranos is the one that I would like to restart.
I'll tell you what, I did try to watch that with Miss K.
Yeah.
The first season's a slog, dude.
It's not the first season. It's episodes. It's up until he goes to Bowdoin. He goes to Bowdoin in Maine, and it's up until when that happens. When he goes to Bowdoin with Meadow, and they go, and then you see oh, this is what he is. And then in the oral history, you find out that HBO is you can't have him doing this because the audience is going to turn on him. And David Chase is no, this is who he
They're gonna
is.
love him.
You need to see it,
Yeah.
and that needs to be seen in terms of who he is.
I also, this is my opinion,
Yeah.
fairly unsatisfying ending. And I would say there are plenty of forgettable episodes and storylines and things in that. And not to say that in Game of Thrones we nitpick it down like we didn't need Reek and all of those things, but it did lead to what you called one of the most satisfying TV deaths of all time. So maybe we did need it. I don't know.
But it was fine in the moment.
But I think that there's a lot of stuff in Sopranos that's not great. It's a great show. And do you think it stuck the landing? That was the ending that
I think
you
it
wanted?
did. I don't know that it was the ending I did, but I think now when I watched it in real time, I remember it being all anyone talked about for weeks was what happened on it.
Well, most people thought it was a mistake.
I did. I thought the cable went out, which that's what I thought. I think most of us thought that. If we were watching it live, that's what we thought. It's hard to find one that totally crushes it, that lands all of it.
Yeah, of course.
So I think
that's why
I think that's the part of it to try to land all of it. It's very difficult. Like I think The Wire is probably my favorite thing I've ever seen, but like that doesn't have the pure joy in it necessarily that sometimes The Sopranos does. So there's a little bit of that.
I stand by Thrones and Curb for me.
Somebody said Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was great. It was really great, but I don't find the need to revisit it.
It's weird, and I don't know if like some of these shows, and maybe it's just me as well, and just the I don't know. Maybe it's just how we consume TV is different now. But like, I watched Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like it. I get it. It's cool. But I was like, I don't need to watch 800 episodes of it. So we never ended up finishing it.
You petered out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think there's also so much to choose from right now and has been for about the last half decade that it's hard.
The world that is created, and really the greatest, I'll tell you what. The greatest disservice that was done in Game of Thrones was that George R.R. Martin, you got to throw the blame at his feet.
Oh,
he had
sure.
every opportunity to finish
bud.
this or to say this is what the ending is, and supposedly he did that, but there's no way that would have ended that way.
No, and those guys what were they trying to get Star Wars or whatever?
Matter.
He doesn't matter. He didn't. He's a buffoon, absolute buffoon. As a general, the worst of all time, worst decisions. I don't think that's what it was. Guessing that wasn't what it was meant to be. He kills his sister.
No, I thought what was going to happen is they were going to make a child together that was going to be the one that leads it back.
Right.
So if I was going to rewrite the end of it, what I would have done is had the White Walkers win.
I remember you saying that. Wasn't that Pedro's big theory too?
Pedro like that.
Win?
White Walkers win, almost erase everything and render all of these stupid tribalistic and familial conflicts dumb, null and void. But that the child of Daenerys and Jon Snow is born in like secrecy, hidden, and that's the prophecy or whatever, and they're able to keep it. And he is the one who leads humanity back.
You're going to have a little people for him to mate with so that you can have a humanity to come back. So you're
there would be. People would survive. They just win the war.
They get across water.
Yeah.
Would have been the problem.
Right. Yeah, you get it right. Exactly. He goes across. Exactly. It's exactly where he goes. Is Curb on your list? I mean, I think Curb to not know any of the punchlines.
I watch Curb on every flight. It's on every flight. It's loaded up on every flight, so I watch it on every flight. Good. It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think comedy drama. I always lean towards the drama more than the comedy. If I'm going to pick one, I usually lean drama more than comedy.
Can I tell you what I don't want out of a drama?
Here's how Game of Thrones should have ended for me.
Go ahead.
Jon Snow kills the Night King. The end, and just leave it.
I don't have a problem with Arya killing him. I have a problem.
I have a big problem with it.
I have a problem.
She already did her job. She did what she was supposed to do. She took out Walder Frey. She did all of those things. She was not the prince that was promised. She's a Stark girl. It's great.
Yeah.
House of the Unknown, no faces. I get it.
All right.
Snow should have. Snow had to be the one to do that. That was the whole point.
I think they thought killing an evil Daenerys, which they didn't spend enough time making her evil.
Flesh that out. It didn't make any sense.
Snow kills, and you can't have.
He kills at Night King. Fade to black, and everything gets figured out.
Tyrion, by that point, can't be in charge of anything.
He's the most incompetent second in the history of incompetent
seconds. But he
seconds.
wasn't, though.
No, but that's what they wrote it.
Yeah,
they wrote it that he was a buffoon.
They destroyed his character, and Bran, or whatever his name is, that guy couldn't be anything.
He can't be anything. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
All right. I think go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what I've decided that I don't want out of a drama anymore? Like real life stuff. Like, we're at the age, I think we're adults or men in our 40s, families. Like, real life drama happens.
Oh, yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to see, like, shows that are about like real life drama. That's why I like
You like the fantasy, like
or mobs. That's like not my world. I don't need to see.
So I like the period pieces. Like take me back 130 years. Like I'll go into that. That Warrior show I was watching.
For example, there's some show that came out 4 seasons.
Okay.
It's like Tina Fey, Steve Carell.
Yeah. Seems like they're trying to knock off White Lotus a little bit, like kind of get into that lane, or no?
No, I wish that would be fun.
They're not on vacation or something?
They are on vacation, but it's not like anything great. It's basically 4 middle-aged couples who are
complaining.
All hate each other's spouse. They all hate their own spouses. Yeah. One leaves, gets a young girlfriend, and everybody gets mad at him, and then blah, 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 tragedy, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, who cares?
I don't. I got my own problems.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like that kind of TV.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. I want like
escapism.
Yeah.
Or a world that I'm unfamiliar with. That's why I like Landman. I'd never seen anything in that world before.
And it's fun.
That part of the world I never knew.
It's not too serious.
I think that's why Yellowstone initially blew up, because a lot of people weren't familiar with that world, and it was like, wow, this is beautiful and it's big.
It's awesome.
All of that.
Yeah, so, that's not what I'm about. We are 2 episodes from finishing You, which if you've never ever watched it, it's worthwhile.
It's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just dark, but it's one of those where you kind of like root for the anti-hero, but are you rooting for him? Because he's really actually like not great, but like he's able to, the way that they do
this
it,
Brody?
Voices, it's
is Adam Brody in this?
No. Penn.
Oh, Penn Badgley.
And he's good, dude. That guy's good.
Adam Brody and Penn Badgley feel like the same people to me. And
Penn Badgley, based on this show alone, would dispose of Adam Brody in quickly. 5 seconds.
Okay, so if you watch, there was a show called Gossip Girl that he was in.
Yes, he was in that.
And then the 2 dark-haired lead women in those in Gossip Girl and OC also kind of look similar.
Okay.
Leighton Meester and
Leighton Meester, sure.
Who I think might be married to one of them.
Yeah. Brody just came back in that one funny like sitcom.
One of them's married to one of them.
He just came back in that. Really?
I think so.
Badgley, he's like, this character is dark, dude. He even said, he's like, I'm thrilled that this is the end of it because I can't keep being this guy anymore, which is fair.
Rachel Bilson dated Adam Brody, was with Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Adam Brody is currently married to Leighton Meester.
There you go. How about it?
So I knew that there was some sort of a connection with all of that. What do we do with this last night with the Cavs? What do we do with this?
Not talk about it.
So it's 3 in teams in that situation.
Yeah.
Prior to this game, teams in that exact situation, which is since 1997, teams that were ahead by 7 or more in the final minute of the fourth quarter or overtime going into last night were 1,640 and 2.
But aren't the 2 connected to these guys?
So now it's 1,640 and 3. The Pacers have done it twice this postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds of it happening infinitesimally small. The odds of it happening, obviously, for the second time, beyond infinitesimally small. That's what it is. And man, oh man.
It's a pretty big choke. You're
it's
up
an
7.
Epic choke.
Up 7 with the ball.
I was calling it a blowout. I had a good gag going where I kept saying it's a blowout.
It's a blowout. Well, it was. It was 81-61.
It was a blowout. But then even when they were up 7 in the last minute, it was like, it's not a blowout. And I'm like, yeah, it's a blowout.
It's a blowout. Not.
By the way, it is a blowout if those are the odds to lose under the circumstances you were in.
It's interesting how it really comes down to, even at the highest level of the sport, like it does kind of just come down to, and we think about this all of the time in football, right? What wins football games? Usually it's blocking and tackling. Like those things kind of win.
Well, and I would just call it executing.
Executing, however you want to do it. Like these are inbound plays. It's just getting the ball inbounded.
It's like his Duke.
You have.
There's not one team I like that can inbound a basketball.
You just can't inbound a basketball. Like
it is impossible.
Why is this so hard?
They cannot get an inbounds play.
If Gibbe likes them, they can't inbound the ball.
And I know they're trying to get it to someone who's a good free throw shooter. I'm sure is the idea of it. But at some point,
then put 5 good free throws.
Just have somebody. Just have something where someone. You have got to be able to inbound a basketball. It's just total fail. And I understand that there's a lot of beef about the the fact that you crossed the 3-point arc on the missed free
and
throw.
That picture, everybody's foot was
Everybody
inside
did, and if you just block out on the bottom, and there's 2 instances where they didn't block out on free throws. If they block out on either one, they win. They wasted an unbelievable Donovan Mitchell, 48, just totally wasted.
Strus was great.
Strus was great.
Ty Jerome was dreadful.
Can't shoot. Mitchell can't either. He's 1 of 18 from 3 or
can't shoot
2 of
threes,
18 from 3. And someone was saying, well, just attack the rim, and why can't he do that? People used to always
He
do
did
this.
do that, by the way. He shot
He
21
did.
free throws.
People used to always say this about LeBron. He can't be stopped when he goes to the hole. And I would always push back. Do you know how much energy it takes to bring the ball up to half court, then get going downhill, take on contact, and finish at the rim over and over and over again? If you go to pick up basketball and you see men our age in the 40s, what do?
Shoot.
They go from 3-point line to 3-point line, and they never go inside unless they're a big. And if they're a big, they go from the block to the 3-point line and back to the block, unless they have to. And it's a half-court set. Why? Because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
He's also 6'7", 260. So he's like
Who's that?
LeBron was physically
right, but
different
he's
than
also
Mitchell.
getting bodied
Totally.
constantly.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
Mitchell's
hit
not him.
constantly. And Mitchell, the toll it takes to do what he did last night over and over and over again, he ran out of gas.
Totally.
And I think that's what led to the offensive foul in under a minute where he gets the offensive foul. I think you're just kind of exasperated.
That one
I
could
think
have been a no call.
The effort, I think it's, I don't know. I mean, it definitely is contact, but that's what I think happened. I think they just lost energy. They're without 3 of their crunch 5, so that's obviously a huge part of it. But you simply cannot lose a game like that, and it's a tough one.
What did I say? 1,640-2?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can't lose that game. You can't lose that game.
Your best ability is your availability.
Well, the thing that I think has bothered more people is like it's the playoffs. Like,
I think
You gotta be-
this is what I would tell you. I think pro sports teams in general, it would behoove them to be crystal clear and honest about all of their injuries. There used to be this adage that you'd keep it nebulous, keep it in the gray. But what ends up happening then is people end up turning on the player. Like if there was here's what's wrong with Darius Garland. He has turf toe. He cannot push off of his right foot. If that's the case, say it. Just say what it is. Then you don't have this notion of like, be tough and play. Well, if you cannot push off of a foot, you can't play. That's just part of it.
Yeah, guys, that part's not fair. To say these guys should just go out there.
I just think,
listen,
Kev, I think if you just are honest with people about what the injury is,
that's fair.
But
I
instead,
agree. I'm just
and
saying,
we
like,
do
that's
it.
what people are going.
I
to
don't
right
know.
now.
NFL teams do it. Everybody does it.
How can you be springing up off the bench, yucking it up, having the
Are
time
you
of your life?
suggesting that Darius Garland is faking an injury?
I'm
Is
not
that what
saying-
you're saying?
No, I'm not saying he's faking. What I'm saying is Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant would have been on the court.
Standing up
You're now
and
officially 40.
walking towards the court
I am
is
40.
different than running.
There's no
and
doubt
cutting.
in my mind.
I'm with Kev on this. I think that if there is a
There's a difference between being hurt and injured, and they need to clarify: is somebody injured? Injured means
I
you
think
can't
they're
play.
injured.
If you're hurt, you can play.
They're injured.
I think
but
they're
they just-
injured, and I think that they should
they're
just say
being-
it.
Yeah.
And then I don't think
that's
you'd have
problem.
the pushback.
Ronnie
Yeah.
Lott would cut that toe off, and he would play.
We
Pedro
know
just
more
put
than
you
when
back
Ronnie
in the
Lott
will.
played.
He loves
We
you
know
again.
more information now than when Ronnie Lott played, guys.
He puts you back in the will. He's moving to Northeast Ohio on that statement.
I just to me, it's just and it's a bad look in general. I think you have to be very, very clear to your point with how severe an injury is.
Yes, and then you don't.
So
have to worry.
supposedly, like Mobley couldn't put weight on his foot.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
problem.
that's all the reports earlier in the day. He couldn't put weight on it.
Well, then
And
you can't-
DeAndre
then I
Hunter
get
went
that.
through a workout before the game, and he wanted to give it a go, and they wouldn't let him.
Well,
because
see,
of how
that's
he was
different.
reacting.
What's Hunter's
See, to
thing,
me, like
Kev?
you could give. Can you give a few good minutes?
What's his injury, Kev? Hunter's.
Dislocated thumb on his shooting hand.
What are we talking about, dude? You can play with that. So you don't shoot, you rebound, whatever. You play defense. You're up, able to get in the game if need be.
Well, in that one, you could probably give enough minutes to get somebody a breather.
I'm going to give you a great.
That scenario.
This will be another great one for you for Pedro. You ready for
Let's
this?
see if this puts you back in the
You're
good
gonna,
graces.
you're gonna like this.
All future earnings.
In Superstars,
Okay.
which is at best a glorified country club Olympics, and I'm going to say the year was 2008.
Superstars.
Yeah. That's right. Undefeated. Never lost. I played the entire event with a dislocated left shoulder with a brace on, and anytime I hit a golf ball or I hit a softball,
What in the
my
hell are you
shoulder
talking
came
about? What
out.
is Superstars?
It's the greatest event ever.
How is your shoulder nowadays?
I don't know what is going on.
How's my shoulder nowadays?
What is
Fine,
Superstars?
Twisted steel, baby. Woo!
What is Superstars?
Want to know against Jeff Jarrett? That's how my shoulder is.
What is Superstars?
That's my name.
I don't know what your name. I don't know what Superstars is.
So Superstars is a competition of, in its heyday, 10 clubs. And at the point in the previous 40 years of its existence,
This is golf?
Beachmont, hold on.
Okay.
Beachmont had won one time. And then me and Doug Bloom, one of Ohio State's 100 greatest athletes, join. And then we end a 9-year run for Shaker and
Like
never
this is
lost
a movie
again.
in the making. Like
Never
summer
lost again.
camps going
So
at
it
each
is
other.
Thursday night.
So
Thursday night.
So now an opportunity for you to tell a story of glory.
No, it wasn't
All the
going to be a
while
story of glory. It's just saying
besmirching.
I'm saying how low the stakes
NBA
were,
players.
how low the stakes were, and what I sacrificed.
Go ahead. Tell the people.
Well,
Give
I
the
wasn't going to tell
people.
people. I've already told my part of the story. That was it.
So you're overcoming your injury in the Superstars
For nothing. Really. For nothing.
No gain. Pedro just wrote you back out.
No,
Now
I'm
you're
way
back
in
out.
for
Now
that.
you're
He
back
loved
out.
that toughness.
He loved
I
that
had this
toughness?
crazy harness on my shoulder, and when I hit a softball, it would pop out, and they'd have to go like and pop it back in. Did I complain? No. Was I playing GA on the bench with Gibbe? No, I wasn't. I was out there competing for my mates.
Wouldn't find me on the bench.
Now he's going to get in the
Yeah.
will for that
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
That gets
Yeah.
you back in the
No,
will.
no, no, the Ronnie Lott one. That's
will.
got me.
Yeah.
That's years of good behavior right there.
What is your most painful sports? Because this isn't it. I mean, if they lose this series, then this is going to be a game you're going to remember. But Gibbe, most painful sports memory as a child.
Of course, you asked this question.
No, I have
What a
two of
crud.
them. I
You know the
one,
answer, and it's
I
one of your
played-
favorites.
It really is.
No, you know mine.
I don't know who it is.
I had a stress fracture playing at a high school basketball camp for the entire weekend, and I had no business playing on it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was as bad as it was till I got home, and like my parents were like, "Take your shoe off so we can see," and I'm like, "I can't." Right to the ER. I played 8 games in 2 days. Yeah, fine, whatever.
All right,
But I tore my ACL playing in an intern's rec league game.
I love that.
And then had to drive myself home, and it was 40 minutes away, so I had to use 2 feet to drive myself home with a torn ACL and MCL.
Get it done. That's solid.
By the way, Screamin' A says, quote, "You got to be dang near crippled if you're not going to get out there and play."
Yeah.
Again, that's an old school mentality that we know more today, guys. Like, yeah, we've all played through injuries in a dumb manner, and now like we suffer effects of it now. They're the science that they have and working with the Cleveland Clinic like the Cavs do. They know more, and if they can't go, I'm gonna believe them that they can't go. I just want to be more open about what the exact injury is.
I like, though, if a player says that I can go, he can go.
Yeah.
That's what I think. If DeAndre Hunter said I'm playing, he should be allowed to play.
Yeah, they probably would.
Let me tell you something. You know what's immortal is winning a title. That's immortal. Mm-hmm. That's immortal.
Yeah, that does. That lasts.
That lasts forever. Pain is temporary.
It is.
Pain
Well, in
is
some
weakness
instances.
leaving the body. Someone once told me.
Easier said than done.
It is easier said, but that's because
No,
of
in
all
the
this.
Superstars, you did it.
Totally.
It's been done.
Been done. Dislocated shoulder.
Look, I just need him healthy, and I need him back on
which
the floor
was an
ASAP.
aggravation from a WrestleMania 19 injury at Safeco Field.
You were involved in WrestleMania 19?
No, I was involved in a fracas.
Of course you were. Do they win this series?
Yes.
Gibbe?
How about that?
How
How about that?
I think that.
Yes.
I think it comes down to a game 7. I don't know,
Well,
Then they
clearly.
win.
but I think it goes 7, kids.
If it goes 7,
Well,
they
it's
win.
definitely not. They're not winning 4 in a row. I don't think that's happening.
No,
And
you gotta. You
got to see where these injuries are too.
Listen,
because you
game
can't do
6
it this
is going to
way.
be massive. And if you're up, I would expect coming back from Indy, you're down 3-1.
is it 2-3-2?
No. 2-2-1-1.
2-2-1-1-1.
Yeah. I would expect coming back from Indy, you're down 3-1, right? You win game 5, then you got to win game 6. Then it gets very interesting. Yeah, show them the sign. There it is, CBD, the World's team. No, I don't think they're done at all. First of all, they played so poorly in game 1 and barely lost. Game 2, they were without 3 of their starters and gave the game away at the end. They're the better team. And they have to win 4 out of 5. That's totally doable.
All of the road teams have won all of the games.
First time, I think, ever that the 4 in this stage round of the playoffs that the 4 home teams all lost the first game of the series.
Yeah, and
It's
we
first time
lost our
ever.
first 2. Steph with a hammy last night. That's not
Pedro
good.
not happy.
He will
about
miss
it.
a week. It just came out right before
Pedro's-
the show started.
I guess he should go out there and play, right?
But Pedro's on.
Kev's coming at you guys.
Yeah,
He's coming at you
jeez
guys.
Louise,
I'm
Kev.
just saying.
Kev.
He's coming.
Soft tissue is very different, Kevin.
I think
tissue is
his
very different.
that could
There's
put him
very
done
different-
for a
There's
minute.
a lot of differences in all these injuries.
Kev
Doesn't mean
went
you
to
can
medical
play.
school.
Apparently, he did. Listen, I just stayed at the
I have
Holiday
a
Inn
wife that
Express
is a
last
physical
night.
therapist and is walking.
Oh, there
through
you
all
go.
of these.
There you go, Kev. Good job.
I'll tell you this, Kev. The day before, the Thursday before, I was set to get into the squared circle. I popped my right glute completely off the bone. True story. Never told a story before today. And
That's not true. You told it last
Brent
summer.
Pekarsky, Brent Pekarsky got me ready to go, and I went out there and I competed and I won anyway.
Yes, you did. That sounded like
That was Lebowski.
That was Lebowski.
Yes, that was.
That was
Yeah, that was.
Lebowski.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was a Lebowski. Ah, it's
Is that a soft
anyway.
tissue injury though? So
Yeah,
It was
and
off
I
the
was out
bone.
there.
The
I was
soft
listen,
tissue
it's
was
off
off
the
the
bone.
bone.
I don't know. Does he have a Pekarsky? I don't know.
He's got one of those. He
Seems
could.
to me
He can
like
sort it out.
Pekarsky's a
Like-
guy.
I'm just trying to get out there that like that is the
Kev,
the reason
I
people
think
are
you're
going
worried
to.
about walking down the street and running into Garland, Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter, who I think all of them are awesome. I think that we got to find a way. We got to find a way. There are
I'm
ways.
not worried
I
about
watched
running
the
into
program.
them and like saying something bad about them. I just
I
want
watched
like
Any
the
Given
reason
Sunday.
why they lost yesterday to be the main conversation and not
The reason
those
they
guys
lost
sitting
is because
over
they
there.
can't inbound the ball.
well,
Yes.
that or block
Yes.
out.
Just
That
just
was-
inbound the ball. In the
I also
Correct.
think if they
Yeah,
goes
those are the
that,
two reasons.
I'm going
Right
to tell you this. I'm going to just kind of disagree. If Garland's playing yesterday, they win that game by a lot because he get Ty Jerome the heck out of there because that was just off day. Ty Jerome, great player, has been
Off
great all
2
year.
days.
That was excruciating to watch.
Excruciating.
Off
I would
2
have rather
days.
played the guy who came in and had that nice steal, Porter Jr.
Caleb Porter Jr. Yeah,
Yeah, I would
don't know
rather
why he
played
didn't
him.
get more minutes in the second half.
Definitely should have.
Well, now we're going to fire the coach.
Coach of the year.
On the day
No
you
way.
won.
Not firing the
On day
coach.
he got the
It's tough.
hardware.
He's
You
not
fire the
prepared
coach,
for
but you can
this,
still
dude.
question him.
He's
None
not,
of this is that serious.
He's
We're
not
gonna be fine.
prepared.
It's
He's
fine.
not prepared
It's all
for
gonna be
this.
fine.
He's not prepared for
Was
those
it over
three
when the
being
Germans
outs.
bombed Pearl Harbor?
No, that's what I
Not-
said. That was in
not
two of my group
fine.
chats this
You're
morning.
safe.
Everybody
I posted
relax.
that on-
Let's go.
on our
Everybody
social
settle
media
down.
20 minutes.
We did have an NFL trade.
You want to talk about it next?
Oh my God! Yeah,
Can if you'd
we
like.
will. We will talk about it next. Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. We're off and running on a first Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Provider of copiers and document services with Cleveland Browns. Tackle any size office at 216-485-2000 or ohiobusinessmachines.com. We had a trade this morning in the National Football League. It involved the Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens goes to Dallas along with a 6th-round pick for a 2026 third and a 2027 fifth. Why now?
Because what I had heard was that during the draft they were only willing to offer a 4th.
So would you rather have a 4th now or a 3rd?
That's typically the calculus. Is a 4th. If you trade the 4th this year for a future 3rd, so basically the same. But I guess the Steelers are saying we want a 3rd, so that's why it happened now. They were not ready to do that, and now they were. I'll tell you what, Pickens in a contract year, CeeDee Lamb, Dak, like Ferguson. They can be fun.
Jarrah finally did something.
Yes, which
he
is
watched
nice.
The commies pass him over last year. He watched the team in his
Eagles
division win the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
2 in the last decade.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think he's now.
And he watched the G-men acquire a great many quarterbacks.
He really did. I think from the Dallas perspective, it all makes all the sense in the world. It's a lot on Brian Schottenheimer. A lot. And
It is, and it's obviously when we know historically when Mike Tomlin says, get out, it hasn't worked out very well.
No. And we were talking, like, how do they end up with these guys? Because we had George Pickens in here in the pre-draft process.
And he
So,
eliminated himself from the pre-draft process despite being
absurdly
very
talented. Yeah. But Pittsburgh historically has said, we will take that risk because our culture is strong enough that we can overcome it. Now, they've had several instances now, a bunch at receiver, where, like Claypool, they got out of that quick. What a win. 2nd-round pick for that guy? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, the guy, he's like...
Right. But, like, there's a bunch of these instances where Pittsburgh has, and at receiver especially, when they wear out their welcome in Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh's like, yeah, we're done, there aren't a whole lot of reclamation projects. Deontay will try to do that here, but it's rare that like it runs out there and there's more in the tank.
Here's the difference. You're talking about a guy that is a freak who has, despite all of his shenanigans and whatnot, with I think what could be is fair to be considered either a substandard offensive system, which it certainly was in 22 and 23 with Matt Canada, and not a team that was really throwing the football for big numbers.
No.
When Canada was there and Kenny Pickett was the quarterback. And yet he's averaged basically 950 yards and 16.3 yards a catch per season over 3. The last 2 years, he's put up 2,040 yards. 2 years ago, he led the NFL at 18.1 yards a catch, and he does that as a 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver who is a nasty blocker. You can ask some of the people around the league, very nasty. He's averaged for his career 9.7 yards per target. That is so ridiculously elite. Mm-hmm. Like, that is very rarefied air. He is an elite talent. He obviously is a handful, so that juice, that is tasty juice. That
sure
is fresh squeeze. It is delightful from a nice, maybe a Valencia orange. I don't know, but they're saying we don't want that juice. Not worth it. So can Dallas get it together? If so, you've landed a top. I don't think it is out of bounds to say that he is a top 10 receiver talent in the NFL.
Well, I think from that perspective, it puts them just talent. It puts them there with Cincinnati and Minnesota, and maybe even not Miami anymore because I don't know what's going on with Tyreek if he's going to get back. But it puts him right there with Minnesota and Cincinnati
and Philly.
And
Minnesota, JJ is so good, but CeeDee Lamb is that good.
Yeah, Addison's pretty damn good too.
Addison's very. Let's look at them. Take a look at them. I like it. I'm a big Addison.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's is pretty nice. I mean, he's had some injury stuff, but I think Minnesota's pretty good. And obviously Cincinnati's.
Addison's gone 900, 875. Addison scored 19 touchdowns in 2 years. Yeah, very
so
good.
he's right there. And I think same thing with the Cincinnati situation.
Of course,
and then
Jason
obviously
Higgins. Hill and Waddle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're maybe above that right now. I'd see what happens with Hill this year. And then Smith and Brown.
I mean,
they're right there. Maybe.
Because it's just so reliant on speed that when he loses,
when you lose even a minimal, an eighth of a step, that's the differentiator for him.
It's just crazy to go 1710, 1799, and then 959.
Yeah, it is. And it puts Pittsburgh in a position where, and I think this is what I assumed it, because this has been rumored forever, like the Pickens deal. I assumed that they were going to say, here, Aaron, all we need is a quarterback. We have two A minus receivers in Metcalf and Pickens. We have addressed the ground game. Warren's already here, and then we addressed it with Johnson out of Iowa in the third round. So now we have that. We got Freiermuth. We got a really good defense. Drop in here, and you're all we need to go compete for a Super Bowl. And people could say, that's not a Super Bowl team. But from Rodgers' perspective, you could at least talk yourself into it. You could say, put me on there. Give me two A-list weapons on the outside, Freiermuth down the middle, that run game, that defense, that culture, all of it. Yeah, I can see myself winning there. So I assumed they were going to keep him for Rodgers. My assumption all along is that Rodgers is going to be a Steeler and that both sides know it. I don't know. Maybe they don't. Because I look at this roster now, and you think about, so they still have Metcalf. They're obviously banking on Roman Wilson to come along in a big way. They acquired Robert Woods, but it's been a long time.
I can't hear you say that without thinking about the G-man.
I know it. You always enter situations in a big way.
Big way. Well, here's all you need to look for. You want signs?
Yeah.
Randall Cobb comes out of retirement, signs with the Steelers, and they trade for Alan Lazard.
Yeah.
Because he can't get Devontae Adams anymore.
No.
He's a Ram. So, yeah,
I don't know.
To me, this almost makes me think that he's not coming there.
It makes me at the very least say that they don't know.
Yeah.
Because if he was coming, he would want Pickens.
If he was coming, wouldn't you want him in your building learning the offense and throwing the ball with his boys?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But a lot of these guys aren't at this stuff. I know a lot of them aren't learning new offenses, but a lot of these.
I bet a lot of quarterbacks are there that certainly, like, I would bet Sam Darnold is participating.
New
quarterbacks. Geno
quarterbacks.
Smith is participating. I'm sure Russ and Jameis are participating in theirs.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting from their perspective what the plan is.
It is interesting.
But they've gotten worse talent-wise.
Yep. Yes, they most certainly have.
They very easily, because there's been rumors, for a while about TJ. I mean, there's a lot going on there. He's trying to get a new contract done. They could pivot. They've never done it. They've never rebuilt. He's never had a losing season. They've never rebuilt.
If TJ Watt gets traded, then I could believe that they are 100% rebuilding.
If they don't get Rodgers, I think they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
Because there's no other. What are you doing here? Like, I don't need to see Mason. And by the way, if they don't get Rodgers, then play Will Howard.
Totally.
I don't need to see Mason Rudolph do anything.
Yeah.
At this point, play Will Howard, and go from there. There's no point in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a very. I still think it's absolutely stupefying. What day is today? May 7th. May 7th.
Yeah.
And they don't have their quarterback room sorted out.
Correct.
That organization.
That's what I'm saying.
That's weird.
That's what I'm saying. It is quite weird.
Couple other things around the league. The Jaguars released wide receiver Gabe Davis last offseason, signed a 3-year, $39 million deal, played just 10 games, catching 20 for $239. Look, physically, it checks every single box. He was a fantasy football darling a couple of years ago with Josh Allen and the Bills, and it just never really happened. But physically, he would be among the things we would like. I mean, we need kind of that guy, deep threat, go run 9 routes. That would seem to apply. But so I'm guessing we would kick the tires on Gabe Davis.
We thought about it for a while. By the way, I think that there's a part of it that where you could say that he could make sense for the Steelers. He was a big vertical guy who had a lot of success there in Buffalo for a few years, and you're talking about from a yards per catch standpoint, it just never worked out for him at all in Jacksonville. He was injured and just, quite frankly, he was unproductive while he was there, 239 yards. The years before, though, in Buffalo, in the 4 years there, he averaged basically about 700 yards a season. Is that right? No, 4 seasons, 26. Yeah. Almost 2,800, about 700 yards a season, 16.7 yards a catch, and he caught basically 7 touchdowns a season. You would certainly take that on this football team. Big guy, can run, but was last year the anomaly, the mirage? They cut him? You don't even have a role here? I know you got Brian Thomas at Hunter, but I think there's got to be some way. Is Kirk still there? Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think Kirk is still there. Is he still there?
I would think so. It feels like it makes sense. Yeah, they've got Brian Thomas Jr., Oh, no, Kirk's gone, and Evan Ingram's gone.
Where's Kirk? Is he in Arizona?
I don't know. Christian Kirk's on the Texans.
Wow, I didn't have that. I forgot about that.
And then they drafted like a bunch of receivers, and they have Nico.
Yeah, they did.
Oh,
yeah. But he could be. That could make some sense here. And I think anytime we can add receivers,
we said that last
year.
We wanted it.
Yeah. All right. Raiders co-owner Tom Brady was on the Impulsive podcast.
Yeah, Logan Paul.
Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was on and was asked about Shedeur Sanders and why he fell in the draft. Here's Tom Brady.
Elephant in the room, Shedeur Sanders. Why did he go so late in the draft?
I mean, it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or
Skip Bayless says
that.
Otherwise.
No. Well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever the they want. I actually texted Shedeur because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. I was 199.
Yeah.
So who could speak on it better than me? Like what that really means. Yeah. Use it as motivation. You're going to get your chances. Go take advantage of it.
I love what he said at the end.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready to file tampering charges.
I love what he said at the end. I think that clearly there are people, and now he's in the media, which is interesting about his comment before. Yeah. But we've talked about this all the time. There is absolutely no accountability or no keeping you can say anything that you want about anything and just move on the next day like you never said it.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that sounded like he was not pleased with that world. He doesn't enjoy that aspect.
Well, but he's in
world.
it. He lives in that world.
He does live in it now.
Yeah, I mean, we as a society, we have gotten to the point where Costanza's "It's not a lie if you believe it" is standard operating.
Yep.
It's your truth.
Yep.
You know? Like so, yeah, I think that's part of it. In addition, one other bit of Shedeur news, and will be Friday. Is that when we go? Rookies?
Rookie minicamp. We'll be outside.
That'll be fun.
Bring the sunscreen and a hat. I have no tent, but that's all right. I got everything.
It's not going to be that hot, though, right? I could use a little vitamin D.
Yeah, maybe upper 60s, pushing 70, a little sun.
I got 60.
I got 7.
Good news, I got a building we can go into and break or something.
Oh, no, I'm not worried about being cold. I'm just saying I've got 60. You guys still have 70 for Friday?
Yeah, baby.
I believe so.
Man, this is going to be a real
No,
truth.
I don't anymore. 59.
Okay. Everyone's
Winds
coming
10
back.
to 20 miles an hour.
Everybody's coming back, boys.
Connor's filling in today. He's not very pleased.
You guys thought you were going to get a warm weekend or a warm
Friday.
Friday. You're not. No warm Fridays at all. Yeah, the weekend looks like it'll be nice. You'll be low 70s for the weekend. But, yeah, the rest of this week is going to be – we just got to get through it. 67, 55, 60 is the way that stands. So a Shedeur Sanders fan is suing the NFL for $100 million because of the slide in the draft. The suit is for damages for the harm caused to the plaintiff and the impact of the NFL's actions on his emotional well-being. This is a fan?
Oh, yeah.
This is craziness.
This is real.
Absolute absurdity.
Craziness.
It's absurdity.
Oh, I know. Someone needs a hobby.
They sure do. They absolutely sure do. So there you go, around the league. Coming up next, every NFL team's biggest offseason need after the draft. An interesting assignment for us. We will get to that coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. right. So I did see that. By the way, I am envious. The NHL, they've had some expansion teams. They had some franchise movements. They've gotten to redo.
It's epic.
So you have the Seattle Kraken are new, Las Vegas
Epic.
Golden Knights new.
Also
they crushed
good.
both of those. And today we have the Utah Mammoth. They were supposed to be Utah Yetis, but Yeti, the cooler company, said no, can't do it. True. U.S. Patent Office said no dice, can't use it. Yeti fought it, said no. So they were going to be Utah Yetis, which would have been awesome. So
Hold
they had
on
to
a
pivot.
second.
All that's true.
A cooler says they have the intellectual property over what I believe is not a mythical creature, but a creature that lives in the Himalayas.
That's correct.
That's impossible.
Well, they did it.
So are they taking the Yeti out of Escape to Everest at Disney World?
I just rode that ride at Disneyland, and I'm trying to remember if the Yeti was there or not.
Disneyland.
Yeah, they have one of those there, too.
They added an... Oh, no.
There's a
That's
Himalayan or
No,
something
you're
like
talking about the Matterhorn, dude. The Matterhorn. It's a classic.
That was a snowy mountain.
It's Disneyland. It's the Matterhorn.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're talking Disneyland, California?
Yeah, we were just there.
It's the Matterhorn.
It's the Matterhorn?
Yeah. Everest Expeditions at Animal Kingdom and Disney World. Different rides. The Matterhorn's a classic where you ride the bobsled.
Yeah, that's it. And you go
It's
around
the Matterhorn,
and around.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
They
worth the
use definitely it is. It's a classic. It is probably doesn't hold up like Everest Expedition holds up better today, but if you grew up going on it, which you did not.
wait. Yeah.
Oh, that was like you got to ride the Matterhorn and see an abominable snowman. It's like raw.
Yeah,
like,
there
it's
is one. Was there one
unbelievable.
in there?
Yeah, there's multiple in there.
Yeah, maybe there is.
And
yeah.
a little fun fact for you. The song Tragic Kingdom, which I believe is the titular song on the album Tragic Kingdom by No Doubt,
Yeah.
dubs the voice that plays while you're in the bobsled before you get going, and it's Spanish. It sounds like it says something like "Sony centavos, por favor, remain seated, please."
Yeah.
That's from the Matterhorn.
Oh, really?
And that's in that song.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
So there you go.
Yeah, we just wrote it.
You can
You learn something.
take
every day.
that to your local bar and win
But
some.
I'm always I'm envious because they've gotten to do all of these branding and redesigns from scratch.
totally.
So they had Golden Knights, they had Kraken, and now they have this. And this one, so they pivoted to Mammoth because Yetis they wouldn't let them use. So I think this crushes. Great color scheme. It's like a light blue and black.
It's great.
A little bit of silver. It's got
The
a
Mammoth is
on the
beautiful.
front. The Mammoth looks great. It's big tusk.
Great tusk. He
It's going to
was
look great on a
ferocious.
sweater. I think they can do a faux back with like a standing mammoth, like a traditional looking mammoth. That's going to be
yes.
really good.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. What did you make of this image that was going around this morning of the stadium down on the water?
I think the comments speak for themselves. I think that helps the case for Brook Park. Look, I'm biased. I've wanted a dome. I'm on record. This is one of those
Dude,
where
you
can
and
take
I
the
have
receipts.
been on record about a dome going back to 18, before 19.
For sure. And then I
before
will
there was
say-
ever any thought of it.
In 2021, I believe it was week 4 of that season, we played Minnesota in Minnesota, and from that moment, I just could not do anything but picture us in a dome. So that's exactly where I've been on record for a very, very long time.
Before we knew it was possible.
Before we knew it was possible.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let's just think about this from the Cuyahoga County standpoint. Number one, let's all remember it is 100% true that the Browns would prefer to build a dome downtown. There is not a suitable location to do it.
Yep.
That has been proven. Burke Lakefront, the timing of it, the money that would have to be spent to solidify that structure that's on top of kind of the landfill there and all whatever that's not would not be able to support the weight.
Yeah.
So we know that. So that's number one. We know that they desired destination. But number two, we know that now we have a great spot in Brook Park. We have beautiful stadium designed by the people
Yep.
who designed Minnesota and SoFi. That is going to be a $3+ billion investment in Northeast Ohio, which would be, if not the largest, one of the largest in record for Cuyahoga County and Northeast Ohio. And the alternative is to still spend $1 billion to basically put an exoskeleton on the current stadium that makes it look like the old Richfield Coliseum and changes nothing about the events that can be held there.
No, there's no roof.
You said it.
Yeah.
Changes nothing about we're going to be able to attract world-class events, anything. No, you won't be able to do that. So you're going to spend $1 billion. So $1 billion to renovate a stadium that is not one of the better in the league
No.
is for what? What is the ROI on that $1 billion? And here's the thing. ROIs, that stands for return on investment. That should be dollars. What the ROI of that $1 billion, it's actually a negative from a financial standpoint, and I'll tell you why in a second. But what ROI should be, dollars. What ROI in this case is nostalgia. You would be spending $1 billion to be nostalgic about where the football game is played.
Yep.
And you said yourself the other day, nostalgia's dead.
It is. For kids, it's long dead.
So $1 billion for nostalgia. Don't get the dome. Don't get world-class events. Don't bring more money to this region. Don't bring more tourists to this region.
Yep.
None of it.
Still kind of two functional entrances. Like
Port egress,
the whole
ingress
thing's
and
a
egress
mess.
is terrible.
Terrible.
Parking
Yeah.
situation is
Brutal.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's still outdoors.
It's still outdoors. Yep.
Or you get the dome. You get this big investment we talked about. You do get all these events that come here. You do get an influx of money and tourists and all of these things. You get ROI. More money will be spent in this region when you are able to attract WrestleManias. If you get a Buckeye game there, maybe Big Ten championships are played here. Never know. Final Four,
College
Super
football
Bowl,
playoff
college
games,
football
college football
playoffs.
national championship games,
All of
Final
it.
Fours, Super Bowls, all of it.
All of it. Okay? All in play. Bigger, better concerts.
Taylor Swift.
Concerts year-round. Concerts stadium concerts in February and
baby.
January and March
Yep.
and April and May and June, July, August, September, October, November, December. All of it. Stadium tours. All of it. And here's the thing that we're not talking about. The opportunity cost of putting $1 billion for nostalgia into that stadium is actually a net loser. Number one, people are not fond of the renderings that they've seen. That is not I'm just saying that's if you poll social media, you'll see that people are not happy. And in fact, I've seen people say, not me, but many are saying that this was the best advertisement for the Dome that could have possibly happened.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you were to build the Dome, you could then develop that lakefront property,
Yes.
and you could have homes, we'll call it apartments or condos, high rises. You could have hotels.
Yep.
You could have restaurants. You could have office buildings. You could have all of those things there that are going to do what? Generate tax revenue for the city every day.
Year round, baby.
Every single day.
Yep.
So that is a win for the development of downtown. You get a state-of-the-art facility that's a win for Northeast Ohio, and more money, more tourists, all of it coming Northeast Ohio. So to me, it doesn't. You could put $3+ billion into a brand new dome.
Yep.
Or you could put $1 billion, not have a dome, into a stadium that was built hastily, by the way, in 1999.
Yeah.
It's 2025.
It's been a long time, brother.
Help me understand why that makes any sense, other than the nostalgia of that it's on the lake.
It doesn't. That's it.
There it is.
Well done out of you.
Thank you.
Jay Morrison in a couple of minutes on the Bengals as they head into their rookie mini camps, and a little update on our division rivals. That's coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, second hour Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. We had it on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it Twisted Cleveland. He is our great friend Jay Morrison. He covers the Bengals at SIsBengalTalk.com. Jay, thank you so much for taking the time. This is admittedly a bit of an odd one to start, but I'm just curious about this because you guys have been covering Joe Burrow for a while now, and I knew him when he was a high school kid at Plains High School in Athens, and I see him in this high fashion stuff that he is wearing, and I'm just curious from your guys' perspective, how well do you know him? How much does he give you guys in terms of his life and his thoughts on things?
I would say very little. He, to my knowledge, has not done a one-on-one with any beat writer since he arrived. He'll stick to the national interviews, and then he will do the podium, the required, the post-game press conferences, the Wednesday press conferences, that type of thing. I will say, though, he is pretty open and forthcoming in those sessions, even though it's limited, and you can't really just chat. I mean, you can chat him up in the locker room a little bit. He's made it known he prefers not to do the small talk, and I think most people are willing to accommodate that. But you look at some other quarterbacks, and they kind of go into the coach speak mode on the dais for those press conferences, and Joe's been pretty open and honest, and so I don't want to say we don't know him at all because he does give a glimpse, but there's still a lot behind him, I think, that needs to be cracked.
I asked in part because obviously this offseason feels like it's and he made it abundantly clear at all those podium sessions, like, I want these guys back. Well, most of them feel like they're coming back, and maybe all of them will. How forthcoming is he, and what type of partner is he with the organization?
Yeah, he has a large voice with that front office. Now they don't go to him for suggestions, but they absolutely take his wishes into account, and they do have conversations with him about roster constructions, that type of things. They're not just doing what he says, but they value his opinion in a way that I've never seen another player have that kind of voice with this front office.
As they should.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it feels it feels rather appropriate because you don't want him to be like, I'm out of here. One guy who might be out of there, though, we don't know yet at this point, Trey Hendrickson. Led the league in sacks last year, been a perennial Pro Bowler and one of the best edge rushers in the game for a long, long time. We saw Chase get paid. We saw Higgins get paid. What's going on with Trey Hendrickson?
Right now, nothing. It's kind of at a standstill. There's not much happening. I know, Trey wants a new contract. He's due $15.8 million this year. Each of the last two off seasons, he's kind of floated the idea of requesting a trade and voicing his displeasure with his contract. They acquiesced a couple years ago and gave him a 1-year extension, which kind of ruled out getting one last year. He had to wait a certain amount of time before you can even get another extension, and he did. He's even when he got here, he was very underpaid. And then you look at what he's done the last 2 years and leading the league in sacks. Last year was 17.5 the year before that as well. You look at the other edge rushers, Miles Garrett, and those guys up $30-40 million a year. He is criminally underpaid, but the Bengals have the leverage, and they can say, yeah, we want to extend you, but they want to do it at their price, and it's not a price Trey's happy with. And so the Bengals can sit back and say, take it or leave it. You either take our offer, or we force you to play this year on the original contract. And I don't know if he would hold out. He's also floated the idea, or his agent has at least, of retiring. That was the case last year if he didn't get a new deal, even though he wasn't eligible for one. So it's going to be – I think this is going to drag out for a while. I know the Bengals would like to sign him, and he would like to stay here, but they're far apart on what that compensation looks like.
Has there been any whisper of another team wanting to come in and try to acquire, or is maybe that helping the Bengals' case that maybe the market isn't as robust as he was thinking?
Yeah, that's the reason they allowed him to seek trade inquiries, or explore that option, and the compensation just wasn't there. Whether it was what the teams were willing to give the Bengals in terms of either a player or draft picks as compensation, or whether it was what the team was offering Trey in terms of an extension once the deal was done. It just didn't work out. And I think that is leading to Trey's frustration, and it's leading to the Bengals kind of digging in and saying, here's our offer. It's going to sit there until you decide yes or no.
Last year, this team was elite offensively, and yet they did not make the playoffs. What reason is there to believe, because it really doesn't seem like they've done a ton, that this defense is going to be any better this year?
Well, a lot of it is hope and faith. That's a dangerous thing to bank on, but there is some validity to it, because they two cornerbacks, Dax Hill and DJ Turner II, both from Michigan, were really coming into their own and playing well, and both suffered season-ending injuries last year. The other thing is the change at coordinator, getting rid of Lou Anarumo after he'd been here since Zach came in 2019, and moving on to Al Golden. Al Golden not only led Notre Dame to the national championship game, had a really good career at Notre Dame as their defense coordinator, but he's been an NFL coach for a long time. He was the Bengals linebacker coach the year they went to the Super Bowl. That was the last game he coached with the Bengals was the Super Bowl that they lost to the Rams before he went to Notre Dame. And so he has a relationship with some of these guys. And there was a lot of talk last year when the Bengals kind of got things going in the right direction and won 5 games to end the season. Defense started playing a little better. And now that the Lou firing is official, there's been even more talk. A lot of players were frustrated last year with how complex the defense was, and Lou's reluctance to turn to some of these younger guys because the defense was so complex and he didn't trust them to do everything right. And then they just got to a point where they were 4-8, and they said, okay, we've got no other choice. We just need to simplify this, just let the guys go out and run and play football. And you saw a major change. And so I think we're going to see more of that from Al Golden as well. Just a lot more black and white in the scheme and not as much gray and trying to think on the fly.
Jay, and they went defense in the draft with Shamar Stewart, the edge out of A&M, and then Demetrius Knight, the linebacker out of South Carolina. Obviously, Stewart, you're banking on – I mean, the production isn't quite there at A&M, but you're banking on the physical traits, which are elite. Are they expecting those two guys to slot in right away and be difference makers? And do they need to be?
Yes, they do need to be. And yes, they are counting on Demetrius Knight, the linebacker. I'm sitting here right now writing a story about what's going on with Jermaine Pratt. It's been clear since the season ended he was going to be a cut candidate. He's still on the roster. Mm-hmm. He was not at OTAs, the open practice yesterday. But with Stewart, I don't know. I think they're still leaning into Miles Murphy is the edge rusher that's going to start opposite of Trey Hendrickson. But there's a room for Shamar Stewart. He can play inside. He's going to be in a rotation rushing off the edge and giving Miles Murphy a break. And they are counting on him, and it is, again, it's a little bit of hope and faith when you look at a guy that had 4.5 sacks in college and 1.5 last year to come in and be a difference maker. But you look at his film and the things he can do against the run and chasing guys down and setting the edge, and it's just different game in college now. They're not facing the pro styles where quarterbacks are dropping back to pass. It's 1, 2, 3, get rid of the ball, and there's not a lot of guys coming out of college with a ton of sacks, at least not at the high level in the SEC where he played. So they think those traits are really going to translate into production, whether that's sacks or whether that's just pressures that force incompletions or bad decisions or even interceptions. They are really high on Shamar Stewart.
Jay, when you look at this team, we talked about some of the young guys they're counting to step up, and really that's been the problem is they haven't hit on some of those early draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, and that's led to the situation because it certainly hasn't been from a lack of trying or a lack of investment. I mean, you look at the defense, it's littered with their own draft picks, first, second, third rounds all over that defense. When you look at the offense, we were reading something the other day where it said the most improved position group for every team, and one of them for the Bengals had the running back room by the addition of Samaje Perine and the drafting of Taj Brooks in the 6th round. Now, I'm a big Chase Brown guy. He helped me tremendously in my fantasy leagues last year, was a big believer in his. He's a stud. I really – am I missing it? Would you say that's the most improved position group? Because in my mind, it's going to be Chase Brown and, yeah, maybe Perine can help on some third downs. It's nice to get him back, but I don't see how that really changes the calculation in that room.
Yeah, I mean, one of the underrated moves that they've made recently is is they brought back Zach Moss as well. And
Yep.
They signed him as a free agent last year to a 2-year deal from Indy, and he actually started the season as the starter. And it was kind of that trust thing again, where they wanted the veteran in there, and they were going to ease Chase Brown in. And then Moss suffered the neck injury that ended his season, and they thought it could be career-ending. And it's great news that it's not. And so they renegotiated his deal. They're bringing him back as well. So you've got Chase Brown, Zach Moss. You throw in P. Ryan, who's really good on third downs, a really good pass-protecting blocker back there, which is a big area that this team needs to improve on. And Taj Brooks is, we'll see. I mean, he's done a lot in college and 1,500 yards each of the last 2 years. So that I do think that position group is greatly improved, but I don't know. It's hard to say if it's the most improved on the team, but I'm struggling to think where they're better, because there's all the people they drafted to be an impact right away. There's still a lot of question marks right now about will they be, and they didn't do a lot in free agency either.
Jay, big picture, Z and I have been talking here over the off season about the teams that carry kind of the most pressure with them when we settle on the Ravens and the Bills as two teams that it's their time. Like, it's time to go. They've been knocking on the door for a long time. This Bengals team missed the postseason last year, but they got everything else that they wanted. They got Higgins back. They got Chase obviously extended. Seems like they're going to have Hendrickson back. What type of pressure down there is there, and on whose feet does it fall? And do you sense a sense of urgency when these guys, I saw a lot of these guys were back yesterday. Is there a sense of urgency amongst the organization?
Yeah, I think there has to be, especially on Zach Taylor. I mean, you only get to blow up and kind of scapegoat a coordinator once, and that's what they did with Lou Anarumo. And I don't want to say scapegoat, because it wasn't an unjustified firing, but yeah, when you do that, then all of a sudden it's on you. Did you make the right move, and can you get this team in the playoffs? A team with this kind of offense in the playoffs, and not just the pressure's not just there for January and February and getting into the playoffs and advancing. It's right off the bat in September. This team has been so bad at starting the season fast, and it killed them again last year. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure in training camp and going into that season opener. You look at the egg they laid against a bad Patriots team last year in week one. They
cost them the playoffs.
They're in the playoffs.
Yeah, and nobody wanted them in the playoffs. There was a single playoff team that wanted the Bengals in the playoffs last year.
No, not the way they were playing. So that the pressure ramps up right away. Now they go 3-1 in September, 4-0. It goes away a little bit, but if they start slow again, you're going to start hearing calls about, is Zach even going to finish this season?
Great stuff as always, Jay.
Yes.
Appreciate you and giving us a little bit of your time today. Thanks, pal.
All right, great talking to you guys.
All right, there he goes, Jay Morrison of BengalsTalk.com, joining on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Right now, do you have them in the postseason?
Yes.
So 3 or 2? 2 from us. No Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh right now, definitely not.
3 from us.
3 from us. We're getting into 10-7. Let's go. Let's go. We'll play a little Inside the Numbers coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Back for season 2. Browns backers, the Cleveland Browns official kid club presented by University Hospitals, Rainbows, Babies and Children Association with Cardinal Credit Union, gearing up for another season of fun. Ages 4 to 12, get your kid a full season of Browns memories, exclusive gear, experiences, events, plenty of surprises all season long. Visit juniorbrownsbackers.com to join today. All right.
Yes.
We did this with the rookies. And now we have new veteran numbers we're going to have a little fun with as well. The name of this game, Mr. Zagura.
Quick interlude, interjection. Are you aware of who's hosting Saturday Night Live this weekend?
Uncle Baby Billy.
That's right.
Yep.
Carry on.
I forgot what I was going to say.
We're going through the
number
numbers.
Number game. Go ahead. Gibby.
Squirrel. Look over here. Tiger. What? Bird. Huh?
What? That's a pretty good job out of him.
It is
important,
though, for Uncle Baby Billy.
It is, yeah.
All right, inside the numbers, looking at the new numbers, our vets will wear. We did the rookies yesterday.
Yep.
Vets today. We will ask you the best Brown to ever wear the number.
Or favorite.
And the NFL great you think of when you think of that number. And we'll kick things off with numero uno. And the new uniform number for one, Martin Emerson Jr. Nathan Zagura.
He would be my favorite, but he hasn't worn it yet in a game, so it doesn't count.
I also think, what do you think of him going from 23 to 1? He wore 1 all the way growing up, so I guess that's where it comes from.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. I love MJ. MJ,
yeah.
I think he's a new leaf. He's motivated. He's ready to roll. Let's go. There have only been 3 people to wear the number 1 in the history of the Browns. Juan Thornhill, Jalen Darden, which I don't remember that.
Boy, I don't recall that at all.
I don't remember that.
And Michael Jackson.
I do remember
the receiver, early 90s. So that's who I'm
So
gonna,
how did
I'm gonna,
he?
that's
How
who
was
I'm gonna
he
give it to.
able to wear 1? Were we out
91,
of 80s?
92. I don't know.
80s were all gone, and so he. Do you have any recollection?
92.
Of this?
He had 755 yards,
a good
7
player.
touchdowns, averaged 16 yards a catch.
I remember him as a player. I just don't know how he was able to wear a single digit as a receiver, unless all of our 80s were issued.
Don't know. I don't know. It doesn't. It's
Because the first receiver
It's
who could wear a
stupefying.
teen was Keyshawn Johnson, was able to wear 19.
Mishon.
You had to go back to the old school like Lance Allworth to get guys in the teens way, way back. But I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder how he got to wear 1.
I don't know, but he's going to be my favorite.
Was able to wear number 1 because it was available when he was drafted in 91. He wore it during his first 2 seasons.
That's well, a lot of singles would have been by that
Available.
rationale. Anyone could have wore a single digit. The 80s must have been taken. All the 80s had
That's
to
the
have
only
been
thing I
taken.
can think of. Yeah.
That's the only way that all of them were
So
off.
he's my favorite Brown ever.
Yeah, he's fine.
Favorite
it
all
hasn't been
times.
given that many.
Favorite all time is very easy.
For you?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Warren Moon, big arm quarterback, greatest arm maybe in NFL history. Warren Moon.
No, Jeff George has the greatest arm in NFL history, and we're going with Jeff George with the Atlanta Falcons wearing number 1. It's not funny.
I know. I'm
Number one
gonna go Warren
maybe
Moon
number
on
one
this
most
one.
hated
Warren
player.
Moon feels like the number 1 for me on this one. 1. Do we like the single digit thing? That's the Fab Five, isn't it?
It's Warren Moon. Cam Newton would be another one that maybe get some consideration.
See, he wanted to wear
Jeff
2,
George.
but you know why he couldn't wear 2? Jimmy Clausen was wearing 2.
That's right.
So he had to wear 1. He wanted to wear 2.
Yeah.
He wore 2 at Auburn.
Single digits? You think it was because of the Fab
I
Five?
think it was the Fab Five that made single digits cool. Like that, they were the ones that they had a lot going on. I think they made single digits cool. I think they
Long
made baggy shorts cool.
Yep.
I think they wore black Nikes, made
I think
those
they
cool.
made Hirachis. Air Hirachis were cool.
They were cool.
They were.
Yeah,
They
there was
were
a lot
cool.
of that.
Yeah.
Too
All
bad
right.
Duke was better because they actually had inbounds plays that worked.
They did. They did.
And they knew how to call timeout.
Back in those days, they had inbounds plays. They don't have them anymore. John Shire doesn't teach inbounds plays.
Boy,
No.
boy didn't.
They don't.
He
Not a lot of
definitely
inbounds
did
plays
not.
going
Just
around.
take it.
Number 2 is wide receiver DeAndre Carter. Getting the esteemed number 2.
Bold
for the
move,
new
Cotton.
wide receiver.
Feels like
People are saying it.
Special team.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be legendary anyway. I would say my favorite Brown to wear too would be Amari Cooper.
He was awesome.
Here's the list: Amari Cooper, Dustin Colquitt, not the great Cole, Tim Couch, Zane Gonzalez, Reggie Hodges, John Football, Patrick Murray, Cody Parkey, and Bailey Zappi.
You had Couch on there? Mm-hmm. I think the number 2, up until recent years, had the biggest discrepancy from stud college football players wearing it and then nobody wearing it in the NFL.
No.
Because up until the late 90s, there was really nobody who wore it. I think Jeter made it really popular because Jeter wore it with the Yankees. I think that made people open to wearing the number 2. But it was not necessarily a cool number. In fact, I remember when Larry Johnson wore 4 at UNLV and then wore 2 for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm like, 2? Who wears 2? Like, it just didn't look right. But Prime wore 2 at Florida State. Chuck wore 2 at Michigan. And those 2 guys, along with Jeter, like all of that, made 2 elevate to a very, very high.
So I wrote college, Chucky Wood, and Dion. The best in the pros is probably Matt Ryan.
Was he a 2?
Yeah.
For some reason, I had him as a 3.
No, he's a 2.
Where's that list I had with the Hall of Famers?
There might not be a Hall of Famer with the number 2. Believe it or not.
All right, let's see. That was interesting to see. All right, number 1. There's quite a few ones. Curly Lambeau. Warren Moon is the best of the ones, though. Number 2. Here is your entire list of number 2. Not in the Hall of Fame. Here's your entire list of 2s. Charlie Tripp, John Patty Driscoll, Walt Kissling, and William Roy Lyman.
Give me the last year anybody who...
I don't know who any of those people are.
Last year any of them played.
I don't have the numbers
it
of
doesn't
the
say
years.
That way.
No, I don't have that associated, but that's it.
I think Matty Ice is the best of the modern era.
Yeah, I think you might be right. A lot of cool college players wore it, but not a whole lot.
That's what I wrote. College, Chucky Wood, and Dion.
I do wonder if that will change with college players single digits being available for position players. You know, for example, like I don't know what number Emeka Buka took for Tampa. I don't know if he took 2 if it's available. Like, do you start to see more and more of those? Like when Caleb Downs gets to the league, is he going to wear 2? Those type of things I think will be interesting to see how that works out if some of those skill position guys start to be able to wear it.
We drop down the list to number 8, and Browns' new quarterback, Kenny Pickett.
I like 8 for starters. I like the symmetry of 8.
Yeah.
I like writing the number 8.
I like it.
I think 8's a really cool number.
Your 8 in Browns history: Bill Cundiff, Trent Dilfer, Johnny Evans, Derek Frost, Brad Goebel, Kevin Hogan, Jeff Jager, Josh Johnson, Andy Lee, Richmond McGee.
Holy cow.
Andy Lee was
Elijah Moore, and the kicker Chris Nagger. I'm going with Elijah. I like Elijah Moore.
Elijah's a nice. I would have liked to see him stick around.
Me too.
Yeah.
Best
I think
8
Elijah
ever is pretty easy. Troy Aikman. Well, why are we laughing, guys? A Hall of Famer, multiple Super Bowl champions.
On this show, you and I have called him.
Up next to number 11, special teams ace and corner Tony Brown II.
All right, now
That's another good number.
Now I'm going to try to give like more just of notes. Travis Benjamin, Antonio Callaway, Ty Detmer, Ken Dorsey, Mohamed Massaquoi, Donovan Peoples-Jones.
That's it.
Terrell Pryor, Mark Rippon for 2 years in 1994 war.
Mark Rippon played
Number 11.
here?
That's what it says.
Like Washington Redskins Super Bowl MVP Mark Rippon played here from 93 and 94?
Yeah, started 3 games, went 2-1 as a starter, completing 46% of his passes for 694 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, Mark Rippon played here. And then Gibbe's favorite undrafted free agent signing ever, Bryce Treggs.
B. Treggs.
Boy, there's a story. Come ask me that in a bar of Browns fans.
I'm going to go with
I'll tell you all about Bryce Treggs.
Donovan Peoples-Jones is my favorite.
I agree.
DPJ. By the way, congratulations, DPJ. He tweeted out that he's 2 years sober, 2 years alcohol free. So good for him.
That's great. That's great.
Yes. And then my favorite number 11 ever, appearing for the second time on this list, Jeff George.
For the Colts?
For the Colts.
Did he wear 11 for the Colts?
Yes, he did. Honorable mention for me for Larry Fitzgerald and Julio Jones.
They are the examples of receivers being able to wear teens, and so those numbers will go into the Hall of Fame when those 2 guys go in. And quite honestly, they could use it. It's not a great list. in the Hall. Joe Guyon, William Roy Lyman, Norm Van Brocklin.
Norm.
It ain't great
No,
with the
not
number
great.
11.
That's interesting. I like it. I like number 11.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald, Julio Jones. That's it. Yeah, those are the only ones that are fun, I'd say.
Yeah. I think that it kind of gets lost in the tradition, like in the old school quarterback mix. It definitely gets lost amongst the 12, 13, 14 crowd. Like there's a lot in those numbers, but not there for 11. I don't know if I love it as a corner. I got to see what that looks like at corner. Like it feels.
Who's wearing that at corner?
Our guy, Tony Brown.
Hey, it's special teams. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he is
You're
a
right.
corner.
Yeah, he's a corner.
Yeah.
You're right. I was already on to 15.
I believe this is going to be his number.
It's on the roster.
on the roster.
That way, yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't on the one, but okay. On the app, it's on it. Joe Flacco.
All right, here's the list.
Number 15, but number 1 in your heart.
Devon Bess, Joe Flacco,
I remember Devon
Steve
Bess.
Cox, Greg Little,
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Marlon Moore, Jim Ninowski, Mike Phipps, quarterback Mike Phipps, Charlie Whitehurst, and Dave Zastudil.
Clipboard Jesus.
It's Dave Zastel, good man.
Zasty, baby.
Yeah, Zasty.
Very good man.
If
Very good
Flacco's
man.
not eligible, Zasty's my favorite.
He'd be mine too. But yeah, I think Flacco's my guy on that out of that list.
Best 15 of all time. This is another one that's going to be light in there, I think.
Very light.
Bart Starr, right?
Yeah, that's it.
That's
It's
it.
NFL Hall of Famers. It's Bart Starr, Steve Van Buren.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are your NFL Hall of Famers in 15. When I think of 15, I think of Tebow. Like a lot of this is my college influence,
Sure,
but I
sure.
think of him, and I think of Tommy Frazier, who was unbelievable at Nebraska. He wore 15 as well. Zeke Elliott, 15 at Ohio State.
Yes.
Up next to number 16, the New Browns wide receiver, Deontay Johnson.
All right. So this one, in the way back, you got Bill Nelson,
Okay.
who was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Great player.
You got Milt Plum, who
Yep.
was a 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback. And then you got Josh Cribbs. That's really pretty much the
Cribbsy.
list. Andrew Hawkins as well. I would probably say Josh Cribbs is because of just my age.
Yeah, Cribbs as well.
Would get the nom, and then the best ever.
16 in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty loaded. You got George Blanda, Len Dawson, Frank Gifford, Ed Healy. Who else we got here? That's pretty it. It's a good list. Kenny Stabler wore 16 at one point. Bronco Nagurski wore 16.
So good.
He reminds me of Buddy Garrity. Like, if I'm like, so like, I send him out to go to the bathroom. When he comes back in, he goes right in, and he's like, "Dad, where's a treat? Where's a treat? Where's a treat?"
I did my
And
job.
you just was. I just did. You have one job. Say Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Just do one job.
That's it. That's all you have, one job.
Yeah.
And you're going to side with Steve Young?
I'm not siding with Steve.
You are a Steve
No,
Young.
I'd like to watch Steve Young play. Joe Montana's 16, though. That's it.
You can have Joe Montana or Steve
I think it's
Young.
weird
Who are you
that
taking?
Well, you know who I'm taking. I've been on the record many times.
Steve
Joe,
Young.
every time.
Okay, good.
I also think
You're back.
it's weird that he did. I guess he didn't want to wear 16 for the Chiefs,
So he's 19.
so he wore 19 because he didn't. He said that's Dawson's number. It stays. But yeah, that's it.
Number 17. Some nice lore for the Browns. You've got Dalen Baldwin, another one of Gibbe's big signings. Jason Campbell, a Jake Daylight coming. Me
Jason
wanna
Campbell.
Delhomme.
Oh,
Holy cow!
Braylon Edwards. Terrell Pryor.
Pryor wore 11
and 17. Yeah, 17 in 2015. Dorian Thompson Robinson. Chris Gardocki. A Todd
Great punter.
Philcox.
It's a great name.
And
Todd
then,
Philcox.
of course, the great Brian Sipe.
I believe Todd Philcox was the guy that replaced one Bernard Kosar
Oh, my.
as the quarterback.
Tough thing to do.
Sipe is the clear answer at
Yep.
17.
There's a lot of loaded numbers there.
Yeah,
a
it's a
lot
good
of guys
one.
that did some things.
Yeah, that was a good number. Lots of good ones there. It's funny, when I think 17, I think of Doug Williams. When I think of the NFL context of 17, because obviously I wasn't around for Sipe, so like that's what I think of.
I think
Doug
of Phil
Williams.
Rivers.
Yeah, for me, I just went right in my head. I just went right to Doug Williams with the Redskins.
So
I don't-
because of Madden, there was one other one that I thought because he was like a cheat code in the game whenever you got him because he's so big. And I actually got to meet him at a joint practice in Philadelphia a few years ago, Harold Carmichael.
oh yeah, and he's in the Hall of Fame list is Morris Badgrow, Harold Carmichael.
Excuse me?
Yep.
What was his name?
Morris Badgrow. Like Wayne Grow from Heat.
Love it.
Morris
Badgrow.
Badgrow.
Yeah.
So let's think about how you come up with that name. Are you like, what did you do? Why are you here? I had crops that all died on me,
That's
and so
what I
now I'm in
think.
America, and they're like, we're calling you Badgrow.
Badgrow it is. Ellis Island. It feels like an Ellis
right?
Island decision. I think you're right on that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're probably right.
That's all I got.
Glenn Edwards as well. Devontae wears 17, doesn't he?
Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Yes. Devontae Adams is a very good one.
Yeah.
Next up, we jump down to number 25 in corner, Nick Needham.
This is a good number.
good number.
25 is a good number. All right, in Cleveland Browns. So my Cleveland Browns, I'm going to try to just highlight, there are a lot of them here. Not a lot, honestly, with a ton of success. Recently, we've had Demetric Felton, Khalif Halassi, Dontrell Hilliard. Remember him?
I
Chris
do,
Obanaya.
yeah.
There's really not a
lot there.
Not a lot there in terms of even just Frank Pitts probably had the best run of anybody. One-time Super Bowl champ, two-time AFL champ, the wide receiver split end. But I don't know him. So I'll go. I enjoyed Demetric Felton while he was here. I'll say Demetric Felton.
Yeah, and 25 in NFL history is a little dicey, too. Bolitnikoff is the most famous. Tommy McDonald also wore 25, Hall of Fame receiver. Those are probably the two most notable.
I think of two running backs immediately.
Reggie?
No.
Not Reggie Bush.
No.
He wore it with the Saints.
I think of Jamal Charles.
Yeah.
And Shady McCoy.
Yeah, Shady McCoy. Yeah, but then he switched to 5 once he could. But yeah, he was 25.
Yeah, he was 25 with the Eagles.
Yeah. Those are both good ones.
We jumped to 38 and a new kicker, Andre
Smith.
There you go.
These are tough.
Perfect.
38 is there's not a lot here.
38.
All right, we've got an TJ Carey, Tony Brown last year, AJ Green, our AJ Green.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. And Antonio Langham from 94 to 99.
He was good.
Yeah, he was good. Did you know that his first name was Collie?
I did not. He had a great national championship game against Miami, though. I do remember that when he was at
2006, it was worn by Therian Fontenot, which is good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tony Brown. I really like him as just a person.
There are only 2 Hall of Famers to wear 38, and only one of them who wore it as his primary number, and that is Arn Herber.
Yep, that's what it says. Also considered was George Rogers. Was that the running back?
He was a running back out of South Carolina, but I don't know that I thought he was something else.
He's third. Let's see his accolades.
Yeah.
George Rogers. Did he play for Redskins?
Yes.
81 to 87.
Yeah, he won the
He
Heisman.
was
He was 38 at South Carolina.
Yeah, and he was 38 in college. In the pros, 38 with the Redskins, and then 38 with the Saints as well, who originally drafted him. 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time first-team All-Pro. He might be the guy. His rookie season comes into the league, goes for 1674 and 13 tutties. His first-team All-Pro, 6th in the MVP voting, and wins Rookie of the Year in his very first year in the league. Then magically in the next year, must have been the strike shortened. It was 82 season.
Yeah, 82 was strike.
He had 535 yards in 5 games and was a Pro Bowler in that season as well. And then in 1986, at the age of 28, he had his last great year with Washington, 1,203 yards and a league-high 18 touchdowns. I'm going to go George Rogers.
Yeah, he was a stud.
Yeah. I don't know the other
Heisman
guy.
winner at South Carolina.
Yeah, never heard of the other guy.
We jumped to number 53, defensive end Julian Okwara.
I don't know. Let's give the 53s. I know we got Nick Harris.
I like Nick Harris.
Nick Harris was a fine
Root
young
for
man.
him in life.
Root for him. All right, we've got
That's an easy one for me, unless there's somebody here.
Craig
that I'm not
Robertson and Joe Schobert.
Schobert, baby.
Oh, Joe the Show.
Joe the Show. We'd have to give Joe the Show. Always.
Joe the Show, just because he would show up at any remote.
He would show up
at
everything.
Remote.
Yeah.
Yes, he would.
Very nice of him.
Very kind of him.
All right. Best 53s.
So, Hall of Fame, you got Harry Carson is the most famous.
That's what I would.
Who, oddly enough, was leaving the Pro Football Hall of Fame game, when Hoff went in, us against the Jets, and we stopped to get gas at Green Township.
Oh, my.
And I pulled up, and the guy getting gas next to me was Harry Carson.
How about it?
Yeah. That was it. I told the boys, hey, it's a jacket
Weren't they
right there.
53, 56, and Carl Banks was 58?
Yeah, I think you have that right, yeah.
All right.
On to number 71. We jump down the list. New offensive tackle, Cornelius Lucas.
Man, I can't remember anybody who's worn that one for us. You got to go back to Walter Johnson from 65 to 76. Walter Johnson, a 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle of the Browns. Big Ataba Rubin, Big Rubes wore it as well. So those are really the only ones.
Pro Football Hall of Fame. These are some ones that you hear Hoff talking about from time to time. Baselli wore it for 71, and Walter Jones.
Dude, Walter Jones is the
and
answer.
I'm pretty sure Walter Jones was Hoff's hero, right? Wasn't he the one that
and Walter Jones presented him the gold jacket?
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah. So Walter Jones.
So we're going for us with the 71, or are we going with Big Rube?
Sure.
Yeah. Tava Rubin was a good dude.
To number 74 now, and new guard, Tevin Jenkins from the Chicago Bears.
Jed Wills also in 71, turns out.
There you go.
There is a Mike McCormick from the 50s, a Mike St. Clair, a Dick Modzalewski, a Paul McQuistan, Chris Hubbard for a few years with us, who was a nice guy.
I like Hub.
Cam Irving won it. And Orlando Bobo.
Great name.
In 1989. Tony Adamley. Is that Mike Adamley's dad?
I don't know. Maybe.
Or Adamley, depending
I
on
think
how
it's
they say it.
Adamley.
I think it is Adamley.
It's Adamley, yeah, because then he ended up doing the American Gladiators.
He also had a short-lived stint with the WWE, and in his first pay-per-view referred to Jeff Hardy as Jess Hervey.
Oof.
And he was not seen from...
That was the end of that.
Again.
He's a long-time Chicago sports anchor.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Hubbard.
I like Hub.
All right, best 74 ever.
All right, in the Hall, Jimbo Covert, Fred Dean, Henry Jordan, Bob Lilly, Bruce Matthews.
Merlin Olsen?
It's Merlin Olsen, Ron Mix. Bruce Matthews is probably the one.
Yeah.
Merlin Olsen would be there, too. He's usually considered.
Merlin.
Yeah.
He was a part of our youth as a broadcaster.
He was omnipresent.
Yeah.
Part of our youth. Wasn't he with Dick Enberg?
Yeah. Dick Enberg, Merlin Olsen. Absolutely.
All right, we have like 60 seconds.
No, we're doing really good here. We got 2 numbers to go. All right, 90.
Number 90, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and number 96, Malik Collins.
All right, Rob Burnett, Emmanuel Agba. Uncle Bronco Bill.
Billy Wynn.
Billy Wynn
is the answer.
No number 90s in the Hall of Fame.
Not a single one. According
Not
to
a
this list,
single number
the
90.
best player to ever wear 90, Julius Peppers with Carolina was 90. Isn't he in the Hall of Fame? Or is he going in this year? I thought he went in last year.
But didn't he switch to 56?
He was 90 for a good period of his career.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, there are no 90s in.
Neil Smith wore it.
Yeah, he was a good player.
He was a good player. So he was 90 with the Panthers from 2002 to 2018. The Bears 2010 and 2013.
Well then, so he's
90.
not in yet. He's just not in yet.
He is in.
Well, then why is it not on here?
Updated?
Well, that's sad.
He just got in 24.
Malik Collins, really quick. Cortez Kennedy's the best.
What's the last number?
96.
Best 96 for us.
Yep.
All right, I can think of a few off the top of my head that have been here. Daniel Aquale, Xavier Cooper, Jordan Elliott, Kennard Lang.
Kennard Lang was a beast.
Yeah, we just don't have a lot of. Unfortunately, it's sad. It's another thing. Or Reggie Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with Reggie Camp.
Reggie Camp.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, and there you do go. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. How about this? The Rams are going to Hawaii for minicamp.
That seems wild.
That's a wild expense.
Yeah.
Hey, we went to the Greenbrier.
Those two
training
things,
camp,
with
though.
all due respect, are not the same.
Not the same.
Not the
I
same.
don't know. Resort life.
Yep.
I know, but it's...
Yep. All right, next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns.